Hey everyone, Ryan Christie here, Authentic Conversations here, episode 3. The name of episode 3 is Creating Calm in the Chaos, and we're here with Carley Perry. And I'm going to hand it right over to Carley to introduce herself. But first, Carley and I met funnily on Instagram, and we both don't know how it actually initiated. But then we saw each other's stuff and supporting, and just found that we had this great energy. And so I asked her if she wanted to be here today, and here she is. This is, and we've been building up to it as well, which is great. Like, it's allowed us to connect deeper around this, trying to set this episode up. So I'm grateful that she's here today. Carley, please introduce yourself, and yeah, let's just go from there. Just start with introduction. So welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan. Like Ryan said earlier, we somehow met on Instagram and just noticed one another's accounts and just kind of like, hey, we're kind of like each other, like we're like-minded. And so it's been a very pleasure to meet you and to see your growth from the little times that I've actually known you. And it's been beautiful. For me, I am a breath and movement coach. I became a personal trainer about a month ago, 2 months ago, and
Woo!
slowly started transitioning into more movement. I'm from Austin originally and never left. So if you are here, welcome. If you are thinking about moving here, welcome again because everyone is moving here. But yeah,
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. I mean, it's the place to be. Keep it weird or keep it California. I don't know. But I love this place. It's grown so much. For me, myself, I've grown a lot with the city. Being an athlete all my entire life, I did a lot of movements and a lot of good things for my body, being a gymnast, cheerleader, and then moving on to dance. But as an adult, I kept trying to do those things and I just kept hurting myself. And it wasn't until 3 or 4 years ago that I realized there's so much more to this body that we're in that needs to be conquered and needs to be explored. And I became a movement coach, became a breath coach, worked with the body, not against it, which is what I was doing. And now I move a lot of pain free. I move with like strength and stability, and it's a beautiful thing for us to like get involved in. So that's a little bit about me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much, Ryan, for this. But yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction. This is like, in the times that we have spoken, like there's this kindred spirit feeling as well, like soul sister, and the language. I love how you share about everything that you're doing as well, especially where you're at in your journey. And like, I think of myself when I was starting out as well. It was more rigid. You have this much more like this connection with, this is the whole essence of the episode today, is like calm in the chaos, right? Calm
Mhm.
with me. Carley is her Instagram handle as well, which is how we're linking this as well to this greater, I don't know, the greater flow of life, right? Like this
Mhm.
being more open to experience and new, fresh, and like connecting the physical also with like the mental and the spiritual as well, right? Like how we're navigating this in our human experience. There's so much more here. Where do I go next? So where we want to go next, I just want to like a good icebreaker. Just if you could share what you're grateful for today, like this moment. You can share up to 3 if you like, and then
Okay.
we'll flow into our more about today's topic and this deeper conversation of calm within the holistic sphere. So the physical and then the mental. So speaking more on the mental and the spiritual component of kind of what you started with in your intro would be great. But starting with gratitude, attitude of gratitude.
Gratitude. I will definitely say I am so grateful for this body, and not just because of the work that I do, but just because of what it does for me on the general basis. So every morning I write my gratitude in my journal, but I write it with my left hand. And I've been doing this for a year and 1 month now. Last
Awesome.
September, I started. And the fact that I can hold my pen with such what do you call it? With such like structure and stability. Like I don't
Like
feel like
dexterity, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like I'm lost. And so I'm really grateful for the fact that we can do things to help us in our weaker sides. And so for me, I've been doing that, and I've been brushing my teeth with my left hand for 2 months now, and it's been feeling a lot more normal. So I'm really grateful for this body and what it's capable of doing and what it will do for us when we give it the time and the attention that it needs.
Time and attention, right?
Time and
Energy and
attention.
focus. But we share that same, like the left-handed stuff for me as a right hand. Like I think of myself as ambidextrous now, as like this, what
Hmm.
I want to transition into as well. And these fun connections of left hand writing and where that comes from as well. So
You
some
know,
interesting conversations.
my handwriting has changed so much. So like some people like kind of write like doctors naturally with their predominant hand. I've always had decent, beautiful handwriting, but with my left hand, it was doctor-ish at the beginning, and it's becoming so nicely profound. It's just like, wow, I didn't know that I could have an artist, you know, point with my left hand. I have a lot of stability and control with this thing. So it's kind of fun to like learn that.
It's like the art of calligraphy, right? Like
Hmm.
these strokes, it flows on these smaller levels with your fingers and the joints, and being able to find, as opposed to something rushed, right? My left
Exactly.
writing as well was like all over the place, but then I had to focus. My vision was much different as well. Like I'm looking at how I'm writing in a different way, and when
You're
I would lose my
slowing
focus, it
down.
was worse. Yeah, it was like scribbling. But it's a beautiful. Thank you for sharing that gratitude.
Absolutely.
That's
Thank you for
wonderful.
asking.
Yeah, like I'm all about using my left side more, my non-dominant side more. Okay, so your connection to calm, and maybe speak more about like the mental disconnection, how you've developed through your experiences, right? Through movement, through breath, like all of this, and then spiritual, if you'd like to speak on that. So this connection from like calm, maybe helping you go deeper in these areas, right? This internal exploration, and whenever you want to speak about like chaos, feel free to like include that in the conversation as well, so we can get this
Oh,
good
I definitely
balance of,
will.
okay, so here we go.
So my definition of calm is to be able, and it's a hard place to get to, but it's an easy place to get to once you do it more. It's kind of like doing like anything at the gym. You lift that 10-pound weight. It's heavy at first, but the more you do it, the easier it is. And so for the calm, I mean, this world is very chaotic. I mean, there's something always happening, some shooting always going on, somebody got in a wreck, or woo-woos are going out, and like it's chaotic. But how can you get back to the center of what you can control, and that is your breath? And so for me, when I think about calm, and my definition of it is more of like, can I keep a level head, emotions, and keep my emotions controlled enough to handle whatever situation that I'm in? And when I think about calm again, it's just like, okay, the world might be on fire around me, but I have control of myself, and I can give myself and help in other ways in a calm manner versus adding on to whatever heightened emotions are going on. So like, let's say that you got into a car wreck, your emotions are very all over the place, whether you got hurt or whether you're sad or whether you're just kind of like frustrated. It's like whatever comes out of your mouth might be what you actually maybe mean, but maybe you're also um coming on it from a emotional standpoint. So maybe you're frustrated already, and so whatever is coming out is frustration, frustration, frustration. You might be mad at the other person for getting you into that wreck, whatever it could be. But what if you got into that wreck and you handled it in a different way of saying, hey, I understand that this stuff happens. This is an accident. This is inconvenient for me still because now I'm having time out of my day, but things happen and we can work around it instead of working against it. And I feel a lot of people, including myself, when stuff happens out of our control, it's manic, whatever emotions that are arising for us in that moment, it's on a 10. But like, how can we bring it back down? And breath, which is what I discovered, is one of the best ways that you can do in real time to calm yourself back right back down to a center of balance, so the way that you can clear out whatever chaotic clusters are going on in your brain. Our prefrontal cortex is one of the most like significant things of how we act and what we do. Like, it's the task initiation, it's organization, it's time skills. And if we don't have that in control, it kind of makes everything else work with it and compensate for it. And so calming the mind, calming it in real time will be the most, and is the most beneficial. So the way that you can have a clear understanding and kind of not suppress the emotions, but work through them to come back to a baseline of being helpful and not being manic. I don't know if you've ever seen those movies, but you know how like those movies when someone's too hysterical and then they'll slap them real quick, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you're right. It's kind of like that, but no one's going to hurt you. You're just going
Yeah.
to do it yourself and be like, okay. But with the breath, it is so important that whatever state that you are in, so if it's some heightened state, if you try to regain your breath, meet yourself where you're at. So like if I'm already manicked and I'm breathing shallow and I'm breathing up in my chest, well, I'm going to meet myself where I'm at. So I'm going to take 2 sips of air in. And when I hold it up at the top, when you hold the breath in from breathing in, it gives you that automatic heightened state of emotion. So I'll hold it there. And then when you breathe out, slow and controlled, that's when that parasympathetic starts to come back into play. And we can start to have a balanced emotions after that.
Just better balance overall, isn't it? Like this is like goes back to the importance of like it's all happening in your mind, and it's the voices that are well, like a level of awareness in the mind as well, to be able to notice when you might be triggered or pulled out or like go into a manic state or a state that is undesirable, right? Like you don't want to spread the
Unpleasurable.
chaos. You don't want to like just and to me chaos is destruction in some way. Like there's something that's happening where it's like things are breaking apart in some way, right? So like, and calm to me is there's more connection in that space as well. So being able to find this balance within the world, right? And starting with ourselves and our minds and how we're communicating, having these conversations, like have Carley in our mind and say all the things that you're saying, and like keep that in the top of the mind so we can have it become more automatic, right? Like we're
Mm-hmm.
adapting more. Like eye of the storm, I think is a great way of putting it as well.
I love that.
Do you have like a personal outside, like if you shared your connection to the book, like Carley's, this is great because we're going straight to like breathing as an action step, and she showed you some great stuff like on how to take action on it. If you can connect us to the breath book by James Nestor,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's led you on this path, and just go more about that, like your path on this and how you've been sharing this, and like this idea of adaptation as well, how you've adapted, how what you've shared has adapted, like these kind of things on your journey of going deeper with your breath and how that's connected you in mind, body, and spirit. Helped you control
Absolutely.
your chaos, right? Create a more
Yeah,
calm environment.
absolutely. Because, during COVID, which is probably at the peak of everybody's conversation, but COVID really changed a lot for a lot of people. And for me specifically, because it was earlier that year that I decided that I wanted to do not my full-time job. I wanted to go more into the service industry, and I've already been in it for 2 years. And so when I went fully into that and I lost all my jobs, it was like, well, what do I do with myself? I don't know what to do. And the service industry came back, but it's just like, well, do I trust it? I don't know if I trust it. So I took a trip. And on my trip is when I heard my first audiobook that I was actually listening to. And it was Breath by James Nestor.
Cool.
And it just so happened that it was my partner that was playing it for me, but like for us. And I got so lost in it. Every time we got back in the car, I was like, play that, play it again, play it again, play it again. Because like I want to understand. It's like I've already had a fascination with the human body, but I didn't understand why. I just know that whatever we are in, like these things are really cool. It's just like how awesome is that? I mean, I'm able to do flips as a, as a 4-year-old. I'm doing backflips, I'm doing all this other stuff. So how amazing. But how more amazing can it get to even more simplicity, like, sorry, simplicity of just your breath?
Just the breath. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when he started talking about the breath, I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting." And not just of how we are breathing and how people are not breathing correctly, and it was never anything, demeaning. It was more of like, look how we evolved from millions of years ago. Look at the skulls from here, look at the skulls from 400 years ago, look at the skulls
Yeah.
from 200 years ago. And you just notice their nasal pathways are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So we're having trouble breathing on a daily basis. And it's at least 50% of the population. I don't know, no one's ever really asked me, but they say it's 50% of the population that naturally breathes through their mouth.
Yeah.
And so that very same night, I only listened to 3 hours of the book that day, but that same night and during that day, I shut my mouth. I was like, if I'm gonna talk, I will only talk, but I'm not gonna breathe out of my mouth. I just immediately shut my mouth and started breathing out throughout my nose. He didn't say that, but a lot of the, studies kind of went on to, nose at rest is best thing. And I didn't snore for a whole week. And I asked my partner, I was like, was I snoring? He was like, no. And I was like, oh my gosh, not that I snore all the time, but I developed that because of my habits that I was doing
But it's disruptive
previously.
to you and your partner, really, right? Like, so the fact that you're not doing it and because you've implemented something is like, it's wonderful. Like, it's a great ripple effect.
Yeah, and so even just that one day,
Yeah.
the benefits like outweighed every other thing. Not that that was like a huge weight on anybody's shoulders. It's just nothing that anyone ever really thought about. But I got really excited knowing that if I could change that one thing, what else could happen?
Yeah.
And
So
there's a millions of other things that could happen, and they have.
what is by sharing that, what is like a story of someone that you've connected with and shared that? Like, do you have any testimonials from your clients of something that you just by sharing the breath, like something fun that's happened for them as well, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So it's funny. I live a really cool, quirky world. So I wear many different hats. But I was a dog sitter for somebody, and their next door neighbor, they told them about me and was like, hey, she's a breath coach. You should go talk to her. And they're in their 90s. So I was like, well, I'll go say hi to him first. So I did. And we started working together. And the coolest story I will tell you, within the 3 weeks, which we worked together for like I think 2 months or 3 months, but within the first 3 weeks, the guy could not tell me or explain or say anything or run a full sentence without having to stop to catch his breath all the time. And he's older. I understand that, but that wasn't normal for him at that moment. Apparently, the year before, he's been kind of slowly deteriorating, so he's fallen 5 times more than he's ever fallen before. And we just started with the breath. The first day, I showed up, I just came into his door. I was like, "Hey," you know, and he was super excited. I gave him one little thing to like practice. I came back the next week, and he has been practicing for way more than I've ever told him to. And even within just by the 3rd week, you could hear him. Like,
Yeah.
as in, like, it wasn't a struggle.
Strength. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he had a voice. It had a little bit of bass in it, and he didn't notice it, but I noticed it. And after he was done talking, I said, "Hey, did you notice that you were giving me full sentences without even having to stop to take a breath once?" And he goes, "You know what? Absolutely. I do notice that now. And
But
I
it's
said,
good you
yeah.
were there to mirror it, so it was like it affirms that progress as well.
Oh, it was the
This
most
is like
beautiful
this
thing.
connection to breath and life force and vitality, and just by
Mhm.
intentionally breathing more, like you're breathing more life force within yourself, right?
Yeah, and it's
Voice is
intentional
stronger,
breath.
body's more energized. Yeah,
Yeah, so I feel like that is what helped him to walk again because he had
yeah.
just gotten a walker, and not saying that because I didn't even do movement with him just yet because he wasn't able to move yet. So we just did the breath, and
Heart and lungs and blood.
oh baby, he is
Yeah,
walking miles again. Like
yeah,
he's known
awesome.
for walking. So like it's really cool to see him grow and to have confidence in his body again, which was one of the main things that I want everybody to have is like, hey, my body is able to do this. And when it
Yeah.
does do this, can I trust myself doing it? Yes, you can. Yes,
So
you
this is
can.
the beauty of like this control, that by controlling your breath, you are controlling more of everything, right? And it
Hmm.
helps that ripple out that confidence to, yeah, controlling your breath helps you control the body overall, like the overall functioning of it. Awesome. Well, let's finish with just one more. I know we have a
Okay.
little, we got some time crunch here, but just to finish, because we can speak a lot, and this has been awesome, Carly. So for someone
Carley.
struggling with stress or tension, similar to what you were saying before, like what's some baby steps, something that people can easily start with regards to breathing. You did share something earlier, but if
Hmm.
there's anything else that it can just, like, after watching this or hearing this, they can go and practice and build on that, like maybe a starting point, like one or two steps that people can take.
Okay. Well, the first step that I'm going to say is if you want to test yourself and to see where where your balance is at, is to take a few breaths and on your last exhale, time yourself and however long that you stay, there's a tier bracket for that, which I can probably share with you. But if you're usually between the 0 to like 30-second range, then you probably should start with a shorter breath. So like 1 to 2 seconds. If you're usually like in like maybe 30 seconds to 45 seconds, start with a 4 count breath. And if you're higher than that, your lungs are working, you're working for yourself, your body's doing great. You can start with like six seconds. And so what I mean by those seconds is the very first thing that you can do to get a balanced breath is to do equal breaths. So however long you breathe in for 1 to 2 seconds, if that's where you're at, then breathe out for 1 to 2 seconds. And then as you slowly start to build that lung strength and that lung capacity, you can incrementally go up a second or 2 seconds. So like if I started at 2 seconds, if I don't have that very good lung, of a lung span, I'll start at 2 seconds. And when I feel comfortable, I'll go to 3. So breathing in for 3, 2, 3, and then breathing out for 1, 2, 3. And if timing this is too much for you, go on a walk. If you walk 3 steps, breathing in, then you breathe out for 3 steps. Make it a rhythm. Just whatever you can do, make it a nice rhythm because your body wants to be in a nice rhythm. So that is one of the first places that I would start. Other than that, box breathing is one of the best ways to get back to a nice baseline, which that CO2 test will be good for that, which is if you're breathing in for 2 seconds and that's all you can do. So you breathe in for 2 seconds, hold it for 2, breathe out for 2 seconds, and hold it for 2. And that's challenging the body as well. And
Box
so
breathing is my favorite. Yeah,
yeah,
what I share the most.
it's one of the best. It gets you to a nice baseline. It gets all of those levels. So if you're in a high parasympathetic mode, it'll start to balance it back down to to sympathetic and parasympathetic, which are the different nervous system patterns that we kind of naturally do.
Yeah, fight, flight, freeze.
Hmm.
It
Or
gives you
rest and
control of your
digest.
body. Yeah, but like it's once again, it's like the calm is in our control. Like the calm within the
For the
chaos,
most
we
part.
just need to be aware of it. Yeah, for sure. Like
Yeah.
control it what we can control, and everything else is like what's your spiritual connection at that
Well,
point.
like think about like your car. Like you can't control everything in your car, but if you do the maintenance on it, your car will go for a long time.
It's
Our
awareness,
bodies.
taking care of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yep, our bodies are the same thing. It's like when we eat the good foods, when we move our body, when we breathe correctly, we're giving in our bodies the natural maintenance that it needs to keep moving forward.
Yeah. It's
And I love
nourishing ourselves, really,
that.
not destroying ourselves with all the stuff that we know.
Yes. It's like, when you get a brand new puppy, you have to do stuff for them. You got to make sure it goes outside and all this extra stuff. So you're just babying your own self, babying your own self. I love it.
Yeah. And this goes into like our other conversations of where people feel selfish with these kind of things as well, right? So,
Hmm.
Carley, thank you so much. There's lots more to speak about. So we can stay tuned to episode 3.25, whatever we feel
I
we
love
want to
it.
come up with, or if Carley's open for connecting again and sharing more. Like there's a lot that we can go into, but it was awesome. Like, really thank you for expressing and sharing your experience, and you have great energy to share with the world. So happy to host you here on Authentic Conversations and go deeper in the future. So thank you, Carley.
Absolutely, Ryan. Such a pleasure to be here. I hope you guys got something good out of it. If not, you can always hit me up or Ryan
Yeah, like I'll share,
for the con.
reach out for Carley within the description as well, and voila, we go from there. Okay, thank you so much.
Woo!
Woohoo!
All right, bye.